tapping in. I am Racquel, and we're going to talk about the John Wayne Gacy tapes series, more specifically, demonic soul contracts. So stick around, and we about to get into it. All right, before I get started, I want to say join my Patreon beyond anything that you are following me on. Fuck the rest, join my Patreon, okay? And the reason being, you can join it for free. I have some exclusive things there. I have the Truth and Justice Tarot there. And I am also looking for suggestions on what you would like me to look into. I've got two there thus far. I've got a new podcast coming out, and it's just other stuff that I put on Patreon. I just would not put on YouTube or anywhere else. And that's just the truth. So, of course, some things are going to be it's going to require money, but it's a lot of stuff I have on there for free because everything is not about money for me. But with certain things, why I do charge and will charge is because I don't want to talk myself to death. And it's just like this, right? You'll listen if you're invested, right? Because I don't want to waste my breath. And I'm not trying to be funny or mean. That's just how I feel about it. So anyway, let's get to the whole John Wayne Gacy thing. Man, this is what I be talking about when I say there are different type of characters in life, right? We live on in earth, and again, I want to express that these are my views. This is how I see things. This is how I walk my path. I'm not suggesting that you must believe these things. I'm not trying to convert you. This is not a witness situation. And I said witness for sure because people get upset. I'm not trying to hit you upside the head with a watchtower in the Kroger parking lot. I'm not trying to hit you upside with the head with the Bible. I'm not trying to give you no bean pie. I'm just giving you my viewpoint and how I see shit. That's it. And if you like it, you do. If you don't, you don't. So there are different characters on this planet Earth, right? Right now, we run in this program here of duality, right? So it's like you don't know what the night is without the daytime. You don't know what good is without what we call the bad. You don't, so light without dark, that type of thing, the contrast of it all. Well, within that spectrum, you have a variety of people when it comes down to the way they look, their beliefs, how they live, how they worship, how they dress, everything is different. The way they define their relationships. And this why it's really, to me, in my opinion, pointless to judge other people because your beliefs are your own, and because of your God power within, you're beholden to them. So you cannot project your beliefs on other people. It's pointless. Now, I know because of social media, we have a lot of people, even including myself, sharing our viewpoints, and some of us are very aggressive on this thing. We've got this camera in our face, and we are strong arming motherfuckers to our beliefs. We are right, and nobody else is. I get it. But my point is, just like you watching me might be one that we would call a white hat, someone has to be the demon. And it is very clear that John Wayne Gacy was one of those individuals that came to planet Earth, that incarnated in flesh to express demonic behavior. He is what I would call a demon. Okay. Now, when a person goes down this kind of path, of course, there's many levels to it, right? It is. I mean, it's how they've been raised, how they've been treated, the way they view the world. Some of it is distortion, some of it's reality, but however, it's wrapped up in their truth and their distortions and their experience, right? And so it's always going to be somebody off the beaten trail that somebody's not quite right, and your job is to get out of the way. So it is very evident that this man has signed a dark soul contract. Before he got here, he says, you know what? I'm going to be a menace. I'm going to be demonic, and I'm going to take some lives up out of here. That's what I'm going to do. Now, what role he played individually in every life that he took, Well, what was the lesson? What was the reason? We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but a lot of things, two things can be true. This man had a job to be a menace, and he caused a lot of people hurt, pain, agony. Okay, it was evil, it's disgusting, and he definitely deserved the death penalty. As a matter of a fact, just because he came in to do the soul contract doesn't mean that I don't have the opinion that he should have his life should have been removed, and it was. He came to do his job, and after we have found him guilty, it's time for him to exit stage left, and that he did. Okay, and I have a brief because description under this video, ex- explaining him in very brief detail. Matter of fact, I Chat GPT is awesome because I wanted to just hurry up and give me a summary. At first, when I typed it in, it said it was going against the guidelines. So I had to ask for a politically correct version because somehow the fucking truth is, I don't know, offensive. And it's crazy, right? If this man whacked over what they found, like maybe 27 bodies in this man's home in the crawl space. Okay. He started off as a child with a father that he felt that he could never do anything good enough. His father was overly critical. He was a hard drinker, and I would say emotionally abusive, right? And he was a different type of kid. He's always kind of struggled with of whom he was attracted to in a sexual nature from childhood. Okay, so he says, and so I'm gonna take his word for it. Now that motherfucker was a sick German Shepherd, and in a very brilliant way, though. I would say that, and this series most definitely caught my attention, and I think you really should watch it. But see, I'm into stuff like that. I'm into unsolved mysteries and murder mysteries and stuff like that. That's something I'm into, and it's actually uh what I want to use some of my abilities for in that field, right? Because it really is intriguing what makes some of these people tick. I am one that likes to study people. I am a people watcher. Through observation you learn a lot. You learn a lot through observing yourself, and you learn a lot through observing others, right? Like they say, you have two eyes and one mouth for a reason. That ratio is what it is for a reason. So, here he's got this abusive dad. He's fighting with all of this stuff, and then he wants to be important, right? He's got something to prove, right? I'm never gonna be. I was told I wasn't gonna be nothing, or I was felt to feel like nothing. So I've got something to prove, and he did. He went on to do different things. He was married twice. With the first marriage, his father-in-law, he said his father-in-law was a lot like his dad, if I remember correctly. But his father-in-law put him in the position to run different Kentucky Fried Chickens. Okay. He ended up losing the first wife because he got convicted of this like sexual assault type thing. He was messing with a younger individual, right? Underage male. And he ended up getting charged, and the wife was out of there and didn't want him to have anything to do with their children, which rightfully so, right? And so he got onto I mean, he was getting into politics. He was doing so many things. And you're talking about leading multiple lives. He even got a second wife. But he told the second wife that he was into both sexes. So he said, I'm gonna be honest with her. Yeah, with that. But he was whacking off people in their garage. Something would set him off, and it was a lot of younger people too. And see, that's another thing too. This brings about another topic. One, discernment, intuition, and lack is three important things that play a part in this John Wayne Gacy situation, right? You have to be aware to avoid these certain situations. Now, I am not victim blaming or shaming because, first of all, it was very disgusting as to how this even went about. It's disgusting that this many people, even if it was one, lost their child to such a maniac, such a menace, despite, again, like I said, he still signed on to come part of the dark. If he didn't, he wouldn't be doing it. Um, it's disgusting, but this is what he was doing nonetheless. Okay. And can you imagine? He gets married to this woman. She knows, like I said, he told her. And she started to notice that he still had more of an affinity for men, right? So the awareness, you got to be aware. And it's hard. It's hard to, unfortunately, I believe awareness is taught. I believe intuition is developed through a life, from lifetimes of incarnating and living, right? It's like a familiarity in your cells, right? So sometimes people aren't aware, and because they aren't aware, they are instant victims to that, unfortunately, right? um so they're not necessarily picking up the signals that this person isn't good for me. I remember coming in contact with someone when I was younger, and I instantly got this bad feeling in my gut. It was a really uncomfortable feeling, and I knew, you gotta keep an eye on this person. This person wasn't necessarily a threat to me, but I knew what I was just aware. That's all. I was very aware. And so you got younger people, different people were coming up to him. I mean, you got people that are street walkers or doing street jobs, right? You've got young people. I mean, one of them really needed a job. And then this speaks to the lack. So we talked about the rareness very briefly, but this speaks to the lack. So this young man really wanted a job, so much so that he jumped in the car with this man and left with him. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And he lost his life, right? Now, do I blame him? No. I mean, because again, if you're not used to a bunch of evil people, if you're not used to having deception in your life, you're not necessarily leery of people. So, I mean, this was in the 1970s. We're talking 1978, 1979. People are jumping in his car. I mean, they see him as a nice person. He was very he had a gift of gab. Even the way that when he was getting in trouble, and the way that he would talk to people, it was very interesting. But what type of sick person kills all these people, puts them in the crawl space of their home? And think about, like, how spiritually in tune was this individual, right? They had some type of mental disorder. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, none of that. But something is wrong with an individual that would do something like that. Their clock, their wiring is a bit different. Somebody commented 27 bodies. Yes, 27 bodies. And that's what they found in the house, D-Raw. That's what they found in the house. It has nothing to do with he start losing room in his house, and he start throwing people in the water. Yeah. So then he was putting people in watery graves. Absolutely crazy. You gotta watch. It's only 3 episodes, y'all. Y'all gotta watch it. It's on Netflix. Blew my mind. My husband came home. He was watching it too. He was watching it too. Unbelievable. And the level of the commitment. So again, what type of spiritual awareness did this person have to have that many bodies? That's that many souls that are disincarnated, floating around in your home, and you sleep like that. Imagine that. Imagine 27 or more souls wandering in your home as you sleep. When the police came into the house and the heat came on, it was the stench that caught their attention with this guy. They were already watching him during due to some stupid shit he was doing before. They were already watching. And you know how one thing about police officers too, they're very intuitive, right? So they have hunches and stuff like that too. So they just needed to catch him. And it was amazing when they were following him. He's speeding down streets and they didn't stop him. They didn't give him a ticket or nothing. Like, nah, that don't make and I'm not trying to be funny, but if that man was African American flying down the street, a side street, residential street, 70 miles an hour, and I'm already following you to catch you up in some dumb stuff because they was following him 24 hours, 7 days a week. They were not giving up because they had to keep their eye on him. They could have pulled him over. They were questioning should they even pull him over when he had handed someone some joints and it wasn't legal there. It's this stuff is mind blowing. Mind blowing. But for a person to be that committed, they had to be incarnated to do that stuff because that is wild. Now, you may wonder, I know it's hard to wrap your head around that because we see the God force as all light, but it's a lot of things that in the human mind might not understand. I don't know why I understand it, but I understand it. We're all expressing ourselves. Let's just say that's all that is the dark side of or the shadow side of all there is. He's the expression of the shadow side. That's all there is. And he came down to do this and he was committed. He had to stick to the script because these things that I watched and listened to were outrageous and horrific. Outrageous and horrific. There is going to be evil. Right now, it is my belief that we're in the process of bringing things into balance so that evil is not overshadowing the good in the world. But there's always going to be someone, some instrument of chaos, some instrument of the darkness, some instrument of just menacing energies. He was definitely one of them. I'm telling you, if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. You damn near need to let your kids watch it. People, we need to. People need to know not to scare the hell out of them because even though we know because of the church, because of our those that govern us, the powers that be, that fear is a great motivator, right? Because that's what they use all the time. I don't believe in nightmaring the hell out of people, but what I do believe is giving a reasonable amount of information that arms them to be prepared for life. And, you know, your children need to know that this type of sickness is it. Now, I'm going to tell you though, one thing about this technology, even though it is the feds and it's telling everything we do and it's watching everything, just like everything has a good and bad component to it, it's making it a lot harder for the average Joe to get away with stuff like this. Now, the people of power, they've been doing heinous stuff allegedly since forever. But now they're getting tied up and their time is up too. But that's the good thing about technology. But have you asked yourself, what soul contract did you sign? Did you come on to play the part of the light or did you come on to play the part of the dark? That's something you might want to ask. But let me know what you guys think. Throw your thoughts in the comments section. Remember, you can always check me out at rockyroadtv.com. You see my website address at the top of the screen. My email is below. Make sure you please like this and share it. But like I said, more than anything, check out my Truth and Justice Tarot on Patreon and sign up for Patreon. It is free. Of course, the things that cost you will have to pay for, but there's a lot of things that is free. The Truth and Justice Tarot is one of those things, but you have to be a member of it. And I just did a so my podcast, I am Raquel No Chaser, that is dropping in January. I had a dream that was crazy. And I actually added it to the podcast, but I released it. I wanted to record it for Patreon, and I was just gonna have it just like a post as Patreon for members on there. I said, let me add it to the podcast. So you want to check that out. You want to check that. I'm not even going to give the title. Okay, but it's crazy. One of my friends said that title is crazy. I got to listen to it. Another one of my friends listened to it. She said that is deep. It was a deep, deep dream. So go ahead on head on over to Patreon, check it out. Again, my website will take you where you need to go. That's what that menu is for. Hit that menu up and you'll find what you're looking for. And I thank y'all so much for tapping in, and I love y'all. See you next week.